today as we welcome a courageous guest, one who has faced the trials of life. A pastor, he has experienced the pain of divorce. He continuously boldly shares the word of God, inspiring others with his resilience and commitment to spread the love of God. Join us as we hear his powerful story of redemption and strength in time of adversity. Thank you. I'm Nona Morrison, and this is Cheers to God. Once again, let's thank Jesus for this day. And my spiritual father, Bishop Frank Ofosu-Opia and Pastor Mary Ofosu-Opia, and Reverend Obiri Ajekum and Reverend Gifty Obiri Ajekum. My management, Nita of Star Effect. Thank you. Apostle, thank you for being on Cheers to God.
Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself.
I am Apostle Garret Lloyd. My pastor is Dr. Sonny Badu from Rockhill Church in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And that's who I am in a nutshell.
Apostle, today we want to know so much about your life. Okay. Pastor Frank Ofosu-Opia says, experience is the best teacher, but sometimes we can learn from those that have experienced it. We don't have to go through it. So this interview is a way for us to learn, a way for us to know where we need to be straightened. And I think as we're watching this, God is going to open our eyes and we can correct our path.
Amen.
So please call your family, call your friends, tell them that God is about to do an amazing thing.
Amen.
Apostle, so
yes,
you said you were not happy in that marriage. And you walked out. Mm-hmm. But you said when you walked out, that was the toughest time in your life. After making a decision that's supposed to be something that is better for you, how then does it become something that is worse?
Because of the beliefs that I had. And still today, I believe divorce is wrong. So let me make that clear. I don't think divorce should happen. But there are occasions where it just becomes necessary. And I know there are people that will say, you should stay there at all cost, at all cost. And there have been people that they stayed there at all cost. And they are, and from where I'm from, they're pushing daisies today. They're gone on into judgment because they stayed there at all cost. And whether it was a man harming the husband, the wife, or the wife, the husband, their lives were ended prematurely, and then once it happened, and I tell people, you stay there, it happens, and now it's, he should have, people would say this, stay there, brother, stay there. God's going to fix it. And then when the brother's dead, they say, he should have left.
Yeah.
Or vice versa with the wife. She should have left. She should have never, no one should go through that. God doesn't want that. But when they're going through it, the counsel is stay.
But when you left, did you know at that time that you left, you just left because you were mad, but did you leave with a mindset of I'm divorcing, I'm done?
No, okay. I did not.
You did not. So it took a while before you to say,
yes,
this marriage is over.
Yes.
Where did you go? And what was the thing that happened that was terrible? Because you said in that point was a bad state for you.
When I left and went my separate way, I moved away to another city. I would come home on weekends, primarily for my children and for the church. I continued pastoring the church.
The church didn't know you guys had separated?
No.
Okay.
That was, it is embarrassing. Mm-hmm. And so it was kept secret, and I wouldn't talk about it. And honestly, I had made up in my mind I was going to come back. I said, I'll make this work. I'm going to go back. I'm going to make this work because, divorce is not right. So I'm going to make it work. But while I was away, I went to a place of homelessness. I didn't have a place to live. I found out, I've slept in my truck. I slept wherever. And then I found this hotel, and I started living in this hotel. And the things that I didn't do things, but the things that I was exposed to at the hotel was just horrendous, and there was just awful things. And so, and then I finally working. I finally found me a decent place to live and I started living there. I remember I went through this place of sickness, and she came. The wife at the time, she came to visit, and she would say things like, "You got another woman," because that's what people were saying, that I had another woman. And so now my son was with me, and he could tell her that I did not. And so I told her, I said, "Listen, anytime you want to come, come." So she would pop up 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. She would just pop up, "Hey, I'm here." And I would open the door and say, "Come on in. And you can have the bedroom." I got because I was doing the bachelor life, so I had one bedroom. I said, "You can have the bed. I'm on the couch." And, she did it a few times, and she saw that I really wasn't with anyone, but people were saying things. And so when I decided to try to go back, I had met this other person and
another woman,
and we were just friends. So it wasn't anything, just an acquaintance. And she said to me one day, she said, "You should go home to your wife." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but no, you should go home to your wife." So one Sunday I was going to go, my car broke down. So I said, "Hey, my car is not working. I can't go." She said, No, come get my car. You need to go. So I went, so she came pick me up, and I took her back home. Then I took her car, and I came to church, and I was ministering that Sunday. And as I was ministering, and I know this is crazy, and like I said, it's just a crutch or a crouch. I was ministering, and the wife at the time was sitting at the back of the church. She wasn't at the front like normal. She was at the back. And I was ministering, and I was going, and as I was ministering, I heard she was back there laughing and playing and just cutting up. And I remember very vividly looking up as I was preaching, and I said, "Lord, I came home to try to reconcile. But if she can disrespect me like this in church, laughing, playing, that I can hear her." Now, I know now the devil can amplify things. No one else probably heard that but me. You understand? Because it's a spirit thing. I said, I can't do this. I said, I can't come back to disrespect. I'm out. And so I made that decision to walk out. But before I walked out, she and I had a conversation. And in the conversation, she said to me, "I talked to my family about you." I said, "Okay." She said, they told me to let you know that I can make you do anything I want you to.
Her family?
Her family, her sisters, and I guess whoever.
And how would she do that?
That she could force me to do, because we had children. Okay. Because of the children, she could force me to do things. And if I didn't want to do what she said, then she would take everything I had, my children, my home, my church, everything. And I would be left with nothing. That was literally the last straw. And I looked at her and I said, I actually came home to try to work it out, but I will not be manipulated into any situation. And so since you feel that way, I'm going to let you have your sisters and your brothers. Y'all can live together. I'm out.
So do you think, as you look back today, do you think those were signs or ways that God was telling you that don't go back?
That's what I think today. Yes. Because I could have went back and only God knows what may have happened.
Did she ever accept the divorce?
From what I understand, I don't think so. I think she finally realized that we should have worked it. Mm-hmm. But by the time she decided that, my family probably hurt me more than they helped me, by that time I had said, I'm done.
I want to know your mental when you were going through that stage. It's not easy for anybody to just leave home and go live somewhere, not with any woman, be focused on God and say, I'm going to go back, but I need to probably think and make the right decision. And it wasn't about any woman, about any drugs or alcohol. What was going through the mental health? What was going through your mind?
Being perfectly honest, I wasn't really thinking about anyone or anything other than God. What would be right, what would be pleasing for him until I got there. And when I got there, that's when all this other stuff came into mind. What would people think? What would people say? How is it going to feel? All that came into play. And psychologically, for me, I think psychologically, I psyched myself out. I'm not going to even blame the devil. I psyched myself out. I probably, this is 2020 looking back. In fact, I know that's what happened because I began to blame God. I told God, you're not right. You messed up. You used me to bless families. You let me bring families together. You let divorced families or families that were divorcing, you allowed me to go and minister to them, and they came back together and were reconciled, and they are still together today. But here you have me sitting in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my wife at the time was in White Oak, North Carolina. You're not right. You're not a just God. You're pretty much, you're evil to do this to me. And I was sitting in the room, and it is very similar to here where we are, and had a bay window. Curtains were closed because I always sat in the dark. I would sit in the dark for hours and just stare into darkness. And this particular day, I'm sitting there staring in the darkness, and I'm ripping God up. And then all of a sudden, it was like a hush, and the curtain opened. I know now it was spiritually, but it's like the curtain opened, and it was the bright light shined in. And as I was looking, because I'm like, what in the world? And it was disfigured.
At the Nana Morrison Foundation, we support children and widows, providing long-term solutions to help lift them out of poverty. We believe the Word of God cannot be shared on an empty stomach. So please, donate to support, and let's end starvation and hunger. We accept and encourage donations from anyone, but our best partners are you, the local churches and faith-based community. Your support, big or small, can make a huge impact on other people's lives. Please, donate.
To do this to me. And I was sitting in the room, and it was very similar to here where we are, and had a bay window. Curtains were closed because I always sat in the dark. I would sit in the dark for hours and just stare into darkness. And this particular day, I'm sitting there staring in the darkness, and I'm ripping God up. And then all of a sudden, it was like a hush, and the curtain opened. I know now it was spiritually, but it's like the curtain opened, and it was the bright light shined in. And as I was looking, because I'm like, what in the world? And it was this figure of a man. And I'm looking, and as people say, oh, you saw Jesus. No, it wasn't Jesus. It was me. When it came into focus, it was me. And as I'm looking, I'm like, who is that? What's the deal? And when the individual turned and I saw it was me, I said, Lord, what's this? I said, why am I looking at myself? He said, because you're the only one to blame. He said, you could have done a lot of things differently. So you got to understand, dealing with the Lord, time stops. And it's like everything like that, instantaneously. You can literally see, feel, and hear everything like that. And so the Lord actually flipped me back and brought me back like that. And I saw all the mistakes I actually made.
In the marriage.
Yes.
So you said that you fix families. You fix broken homes. You talk to them and they go back and they reconcile. You'd say something to their heart and for some reason it becomes forgiven. But you made up your mind that you would never forgive this woman.
Well, I didn't say I wouldn't forgive her, but I didn't want to be with her.
And it was not the same? Imagine that the people that you were counseling had said the same thing. They would never be together.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, to the extent that I guess I was saying, I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to let you go because these things happen. But at the other side of it, when people would ask me about her, I lifted her to the highest. She's a great woman. She is wonderful. She is this. She will make someone a great wife. It just happened. It didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. Even today, I'm married to a wonderful woman, and I said around her that she was a great woman. She will make someone a great wife. She's splendid. But I don't know, there's something about the two of us that did not click.
And even if you had made all the right things that the Lord showed you, you think it still wouldn't work? I
believe, again, that's this 2020 looking backwards. When I look backwards, yes, I believe had I made different choices, had I had the right covering, and again, I think my pastor was a good man, but he did not cover me adequately enough.
How did you want the covering?
How did I want the covering? Mm-hmm. You need someone that has a foresight. You need someone that not just preach the word, but you need someone that has insight with God. That if you were having a problem, you need a covering that God can speak to that man and say, Sister Nana is going through this, mm-hmm. and I need you to go say this to her. And then that man would come to you and say, Sister, the Lord just showed me, or the Lord just spoke to me and said, you're going through this, and you haven't said nothing, but the Lord said you're mm-hmm. facing this, and be able to detour, abort the pitfalls and the mistakes that a person makes. But when you don't have that covering that has that insight, then you always find yourself running into that wall. You fall into those pits. You make those mistakes, and there's no one there to bind up the wounds. You know what I'm saying? To pour in the oil of healing. They're not there. And even when things were going on, and I went by the pastor, now as I sit here, he never said, son, what's going on? And he pretty obvious we were not together, but he never said, son, what are you doing? Mm. Never. In fact, as I sit here and be honest, no one, sister, no one came to me and said, brother, are you okay? But what's happening?
As you sit here, with the knowledge that you have in the word today, mm-hmm. and when you look back, do you think all the men of God at that time that you knew could have said something? Do you think they had the knowledge that you have today at that time?
No.
Okay.
And they didn't have the insight. And that's what I said when I started. I said, my prayer to God was, Lord, help me be that person that can help someone.
So as we just, before we even go to anywhere, mm-hmm. what would be your advice to anybody watching us today who is going through something? It's in the church, but it's not getting the help they need. Mm-hmm. Nobody is coming to them because the person or their leader or who is supposed to be a covering to them, it's not seeing it. And they are depressed. They feel like they're left out. Please, Apostle.
Two things. Number one, if you feel yourself being depressed, this is man or woman. Men, let me say to the men primarily first. Men, humble yourself and go to your pastor. Tell him, I need to talk. And one problem we have today is there's so many pastors that you can't access easily. But if I'm a member of your church, you're going to talk to me. I'm not sorry. You're going to talk to me. If I'm a member of your, you're going to talk to me. And men will have to take that courage in themselves and say, Pastor, you're going to talk to me today. If we have to stay here till 4:00 in the morning, you and I need to talk today. I'm suffering. I'm hurting. I'm dying. Whatever words you have to use to convey the need, the necessity, the urgency of having that conversation, because a month from now, it's too late. When the seed of sin is planted, it doesn't take months and years to grow and destroy. It can be done like that. And so when you feel it, find that pastor, talk to your pastor, let your pastor know the need, the desire you have, what you're going through. And for ladies, women are more open and they're more talkative. And so I would say to the ladies, go to your pastor. Number one, go to them. If they haven't come to you, go to them, request the counseling. And when you talk to the pastor, be honest. It's something that I've found out, that when people go and people will come and they will talk. And when we're talking, I have a saying, like, if the wife comes first, it doesn't matter, but husband, wife, it doesn't matter. But women will come first and they will start telling me all these things. And I will look at them and say, I appreciate the conversation. We're going to pray and God is going to fix it. But I need to talk to your husband, or I need to talk to your wife. And they would say, but Apostle, I said, no. I said, I believe what you told me. I believe what you told me is 100% true. But I also believe what you told me is 100% lie. And they were like, why? I said, because your husband's not here, your wife is not here to tell their side. So even though I believe you, how do I truly know that you're telling me the whole truth? And then more times than not, when they both come together, you find out that they were telling the truth, but they left out certain details. And when those details come and they both are sitting there, they come to find out that their issues aren't as bad as they thought they were. Mm. And it comes down to a matter of miscommunication.
Apostle, before we wrap up, in 2 words, what does the church stand for?
What does the church? Mm-hmm. 2 words.
2 words.
Redemption, hope.
Hope and redemption. Did the church help you when you needed them in the time of your divorce?
They did not.
They did not. Will it help anybody watching us today?
Will the church help anyone watching today?
If they are going through divorce? Is the church the place for them to go for help?
The church, the pastor, the church, yes. That's the place to go.
Okay.
Run there.
And from your life and what you've been through, how you experienced it, when you look back today, what would you tell your younger self today?
Aggravate your pastor. When I went to my pastor and they would start pastors and they would start telling me their problems, I would tell my younger self today, stop him. Let him know, I know we all have problems, but I need you now. I'm facing this. We're talking about marriage. My marriage is in trouble. I am as a man, the husband, I am not thinking right. I'm not handling this correctly. I need your guidance. Mm. I would be more forthcoming than I was as a younger man.
Thank you, Apostle.
Yes. Really
appreciate you. How can we find you and how can we join your ministry?
You can find me. I'm actually on multiple platforms. I'm on Facebook, Apostle Garret Lloyd. I think it's Apostle Garret Lloyd Sr. on Facebook. Instagram, it's Garret Lloyd Sr. TikTok, it's Apostle Garret Lloyd. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. They're all my name, Garret Lloyd. Yes.
Thank you, Apostle. Yes. Thank you. I'm filled with knowledge and wisdom. And I know if you're going through divorce or any hard time, apostles say, reach out to your pastor and tell him that, please listen to me.
Yes.
It's important. You can reach out to Apostle if you're going through anything, and I believe that God will use him as a vessel to help you. Watch this show again on YouTube as Cheers to God. You can watch it on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook as Cheers to God. Follow my personal Instagram as Nana Morrison _ and my Facebook, Nana Morrison. You can watch this in Africa on Praise TV and ATV in West Africa, Ghana. Thank you so much for being part of this show. We love and appreciate you. God bless you. And have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Amen.